This presentation focuses on preschooler development and occupations. After this lesson, you should be able to identify occupations typical to preschool-age children, describe the characteristics, forms, function, and context of play, and articulate the role of OT with preschool-age children. When we talk about preschool-age children, we're generally talking about children between the ages of 3 and 5. Occupations of preschool-age children are difficult to generalize because every family and child is so unique. One of your online activities for this week is to submit a minute paper with your thoughts on the following questions. So be sure to do that after you finish the presentation and readings. Consider what influences the occupations that children ages 3 to 5 engage in, what influences how they engage, and what context do they engage within. So with that in mind, what are some occupations that come to mind for preschool-age children? Try to think about some examples in each area of occupation for just a moment. Here are a few that I thought of. Within the area of ADL or self-care, preschool-age children should be starting to use a standard toilet safely or be proficient with that, climb in and out of their bed on their own, use booster seats during meals, be feeding themselves with utensils. Between the ages of 3 and 4, they can start to do simple fasteners like large buttons, and they're helping with dressing and undressing themselves. Between the ages of 4 to 5, they're doing better with clothing fasteners like buttons and zippers. They may start to be learning how to tie their shoes. In terms of utensil use, they're proficient with a spoon and fork, and when they get closer to 5, they start using a knife for cutting. They're using a cup without lid with minimal spills, and they begin to open packaging like fruit snacks or Ziploc bags. In terms of IADLs, children this age like to be helpers, so they'll engage with things like putting away toys, wiping up spills, helping to take care of pets, and things like that. And again, culture will have a large influence on the opportunities and expectations for children this age in terms of IADL performance. In regards to play and leisure at this age, play is thought to be the child's primary occupation. Preschoolers begin to progress in engaging in sensory motor play to more symbolic and creative forms of play. Preschool-age children also tend to become very interested in interacting with their peers. Play may begin to include more gross motor activities such as riding bikes, playing on the playground, or kicking a ball back and forth with a friend. In terms of social participation, by age 5, most children have made friends outside of their family and are beginning to enjoy peer relationships. These relationships serve as an opportunity to practice social and cultural norms. In addition to peer relationships, preschool-age children participate in family gatherings and outings. In regards to emotional development, preschool-age children are developing a sense of their independence, and it's important for caregivers to set and enforce limits in order to support healthy emotional development. With education, children this age may be participating in daycare or formal education classroom settings. If you were to work in a school-based setting with preschool-age children, you would want to consider how their occupational performance with ADLs, IDLs, play, and social participation may look different at school than it does at home. When working with preschool-age children, it's going to be very common to address the occupation of play, as, like I said, it's the primary occupation of young children. Play is any activity engaged in for the sake of enjoyment and is intrinsically motivating. Some other characteristics of play is that it is internally controlled and personally directed by the child. It's free from constraints of reality, and it is spontaneous and flexible. It's also important to be familiar with the different forms of play. The form of children's play changes over time in response to the child's interests and abilities, as well as in response to societal norms. In infancy, sensory motor and exploratory play is the main form, but during the preschool years, we start to see constructive play emerge as well as symbolic play, both of which stick around through the middle school age years in different forms. Children are able to start engaging in social games as young as 3 years of age. However, the complexity of the social games obviously increases as the child gets older. The function of play can vary from child to child. A historical perspective would state that play serves as a way for children to develop skills necessary for life, expend their extra energy, and engage in recreation and relaxation. More modern theorists discuss that play is a way for a child to achieve their optimal level of alertness, develop their ego, and develop cognitive skills. As an OT working with a preschool-age child, it's important to understand what the first-hand play experience is like for the child and the function that it serves. Lastly, when evaluating and treating a child's ability to engage in play, it's important to consider the context. As mentioned earlier, cultural and societal expectations can impact a child's play, as can their physical environment. You need to be considering what toys and materials are available to the child and what their access to other individuals, including same-age peers, is like. The variety or choices of play available to the child will also influence their play skills. And certainly these days, technology is playing a huge role in the types of play skills that children are developing. One of the main topics that we will be discussing next week is school-based practice, but I wanted to introduce the topic this week as we learn about preschool development and occupations. As you've learned, if a child is receiving early intervention services, the services end at age 3. If there is still a concern for the child's development at that age, they can be transitioned from Part C early intervention services to Part B preschool services. If a child qualifies for Part B services according to the school district's evaluation, then an individualized education plan, or IEP, is developed. Part B of the IDEA specifies that an IEP must be designed to include special education and related services for all children from 3 to 21 years of age. Occupational therapy is considered a type of related service under Part B, which means that it's a developmental, corrective, or supportive service required to assist the child in participating in their education. Therefore, therapists working in a school-based setting may have preschool-age children on their caseload and would ideally collaborate with teachers and aides to deliver therapy within the context of the preschool classroom. Like I said, we'll be covering the school-based services in more depth next week, but I wanted you to understand that preschool-age children may be receiving services through the school, which would be under Part B services. However, preschool-age children can also receive occupational therapy services through an outpatient setting, such as a clinic. In this case, the OT is typically working one-on-one with the child in a clinical setting while also providing education and training for the parent. These are a few of the different contexts or practice settings that you may encounter in which you will be working with preschool-age children potentially. To wrap up this presentation, let's review the objectives. Hopefully you're now able to identify occupations typical to preschool-age children, as well as describe the characteristics, forms, functions, and contexts of play, and articulate the role of OT with preschool-age children. Please let me know if you have any questions about the content of this presentation. Thanks.